Hey guys, Brandon DeVere here, Lure for Two podcast. We are continuing on with the local interview series. Today we're going to meet with Nate and Griff. We're going to go check out Mojave Brewing Company. Let's go take a look. Hey guys, welcome back to the Two Podcast. This is Brandon DeVere. I am sitting here with Nate and Griff of Mojave Brewing Company. They have been so gracious to let us come in and have a chat. So we're just going to get right into it. Can you guys just give us an idea of how you got into owning a brewery, or just kind of your backstory prior to that?
Sure. In 1992, I got out of the Navy and I was working my way through college, and I was working at a coffee shop that was right across the street from a brewery. And I'd give the guys a free coffee. And then after I finished my shift, I'd go and have a beer for free over at their brewery. And about 6 months later, they were like, well, Griff, why don't you try doing some brewing? We'll show you what you need to do. And after that, I never looked back.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I started brewing. 1992. Long time ago.
So you were, but was this like home brewing? Or
yeah, absolutely. Yep. I started doing home brewing. The guys were really cool about letting me see what they were doing. The brewery was Bell's Brewery, which is now sort of grown to be coast to coast. But back then, it was about a 10 square foot space.
Wow, they have the Oberon, right?
Yes,
right. Okay.
Yeah,
I just saw. I actually took
Oberon days. Was not too long ago.
Yeah, there's a back in Michigan. That's my hometown, Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Okay.
So that's where I went back to do my college after I finished my military stuff.
Okay, awesome. Actually, there's a picture in my phone right now of at the mini mart by our house. I have a friend that just moved out here from Michigan, and he was telling me about it. And they're selling like the mini kegs.
Yeah, the little keg.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I've seen all sorts of cool stuff, like people making lamps out of them after they finish.
Oh, cool.
And stuff like that. It's
Cool,
fun.
awesome.
They're beautiful. They paint them differently every year, I guess.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. When he found out that we actually had it here, he was like, "What? This is crazy." But that's awesome. That's kind of where he started out, and they were that cool.
They were very, very cool about that.
Yeah, awesome. And then Nate, for you, like, when did you start your first taste of brewing?
So I started brewing my own beer about 7 years ago, home brewing. I've always loved beer. I grew up in Germany for a little while in my life, so being a 14-year-old kid in Europe, I was able to sneak a beer here and there.
Yeah.
Sorry, mom and dad, if you're watching. But so I kind of got my first taste really young, but it was legal over there at 14.
Yeah.
So, and then one of my buddies about 7 years ago was like, "Hey, you thought of homebrewing?" And he showed me. I went homebrew with him, and then I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And then like the next week, I went and bought all the equipment and fixed it up and rigged a bunch of stuff and kind of got to where I am now. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. And in a previous life, before you actually opened up the brewery here, you were both in the education system, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it was just one of those. We kind of had a brief conversation offline, a little bit about how kind of following the passion a little bit, getting into something that was I consider this an art. I'm sure you guys do as well. I mean, you look at
we do too.
You look at the list of beers here, and it's amazing what you guys have and where you've been going. So how long has the brewery been open?
We opened February 2nd this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so 02/02/2020.
That was our good old Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, Groundhog's Day.
So
wow.
If Griff sees his shadow, So that's how we do it.
We knew it was time to open. I saw my shadow. I woke up.
Awesome. And so we're out here in Henderson on Water Street. What made you choose this location?
That's a good question. I looked down town very seriously, and in a number of other locations around Henderson. And when I came to Water Street, I had a really great conversation with Linda Lovelady, and she pointed out a lot of the benefits that were here. And I was able to set up some meetings with some government people here in Henderson, and I found myself getting done in one afternoon what had taken me 3 months to get done downtown. And at that point, I couldn't not. I mean, it was just wonderful to see things coming together so easily,
Yeah.
and to find a government that was very, very excited about having another brewery here.
Yeah.
That said, once I started to understand a little more about this area and the community that came out to greet me, the people that showed interest, the friends that I made as we started building here, it just continued to be a great sign that this was the right place, and another great idea that might come into play on Water Street. And we just never stopped falling in love with the idea of being here and providing beer to this area of the city.
Well, even driving up here and parking, it has that old, like we discussed before, I'm from a very small town, like 1,800, 2,000 people, and it has that kind of small town feel. When I came in here last week with my wife, and we parked on the street where it's not, like down there, Henderson has a little bit different feel than, going into like the shopping, basically the strip mall area where you just pop in. So it has that kind of feel already. And how I was referred to you guys, a friend of mine, Mark, and he said, hey, you gotta go talk to these guys and see what they're doing. I love what they're doing. And that's already a word of mouth thing.
Yeah,
and in a time where, like right now, we're not really able to do much word of mouth, but that says the kind of impact you've already had on someone to be like, hey, you gotta go check this out. And obviously we know your what is to make beer. That's what you guys do. You make beer. But the story that Mark told me that brings this place alive and brings the story to this place was he was out here, out on the patio out there with his family and kids, and you happened to walk up to him and said, "This is what this is. This is why this place exists. This was my vision." Yeah. Can you explain a little bit more about that, like your vision, what you want to happen here in the community that you're trying to build within the brewery?
You want to take a run at that?
Yeah, you started. I mean, that's the biggest thing with the brewery here in Mojave. We did want a sense of community, and that's what brought us to downtown Henderson as well. It's the community here was so welcoming. Like he said, Henderson, the city of Henderson got so much done in one day that the city of Vegas took 3 months. Yeah. And so we kind of knew right then and there that we wanted to build a community, be a part of this community. So when we see families, with their kids, having some pizza, hanging out, drinking some beers, the adults obviously. That is kind of exactly what we wanted this place to be. We wanted to feel welcoming. We wanted people to come and enjoy the atmosphere, a place to kind of escape and get away, especially right now with COVID. This is a nice place to kind of get somewhat some normalcy. And, I think we've done a pretty good job of attaining that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you have.
I think you covered it really well. I want to have a place that is not a bar, but is more a place to land after a hard day's work. Yep. Families can come. Little Joey can grab an ice cream at Purple Penguin, and Big Joey can walk down here and grab himself a stout, and they can sit together on the patio. We want this place to be welcoming and a comfortable, relaxing spot. And we like that people stay for a little while and have a meal. And of course, we love that they drink our beer and cider, but we also love the fact that this is kind of a home base for starting your day or your evening on Water Street. We love that.
Well, I love how you talk about like incorporating other businesses so they can go out and go to Purple Penguin, which is exactly. We went and got a Dole Whip after we left here the other day because we live in the Southwest area, but we're rarely ever out here other than for my daughter's soccer tournaments, and that's going out and go play on the field, then go back home or go eat somewhere else, but not really down here. But what we instinctively, what we just wanted to do was go, hey, let's just go walk around for a minute and see what's going on. So we did that, but then also incorporating other businesses as far as you guys you don't have a kitchen here, correct?
Nope.
But you still serve food. And and that was it was Water Street Pizza, correct?
Yep.
That you guys are partnered with, and that I think it's so awesome to create that community within the community of business owners wanting to work together. And instead of saying, hey, we're going to come in here, we're going to be the big boys on the block, we're going to serve all the beer, we're going to have all the kitchen, now you're
Take it all.
Yeah, take it all.
Yeah.
You create a partnership with somebody else that's going to be, hey, you guys want to sit down here, or you go down the street and have a beer, we'll bring it to you.
Right.
I think that's an awesome place to be. I've seen that happen quite a bit I know that they do that quite a bit up in the Seattle area,
Nice.
just because I visit there quite often. But I've seen that. But what was that like? Did you guys just go and say, hey, we want to serve food, you guys want to deliver to us, and we'll serve the beer, you guys serve the food?
Well, we had a really great opportunity, and Jim approached us. We knew that we wanted to partner with a restaurant. We knew that we weren't going to have the facilities to do a full kitchen here, and so Jim came down from Water Street Pizza and suggested that we work this way. We had been looking from our side at the idea of what it would take to do a virtual kitchen. And so it's another example of how things just fit together perfectly for us. And again, just one of those things where it just felt right putting the two companies together. And it's been
working
wonderful.
out. Yeah, really well.
Am I leaving anything out in that?
No, I think it's great. Yeah, I think we were kind of both looking. He was looking to extend his smaller restaurant to get more seats, and we were kind of looking for, a way that we could have food and get people to kind of hang here longer to still relax, and opposed to having just like, oh, all we can get here is beer. So I'm going to have a beer and then I'm going to go eat.
Yeah.
It's nice that we can have families come in and get the pizzas and the mozzarella sticks and everything can come right down here. They can relax and, have everything they need right in one spot. So.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I just love when business owners are working together to try and figure something out.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. So you mentioned that everything worked out kind of perfectly. So fast forward from 2020
Yeah.
to, let's say, a month ago, where 2 months ago, where things weren't, and not necessarily, still aren't perfect, but now all of a sudden you're hit with that. Here's your dream. You're opening this brewery. You partner with the right people. You've got everything golden, and then boom! All of a sudden you're going, what do we do? A lot of people, and this is an interesting perspective because I've interviewed quite a few people who have been in business for a long time, and then now they got to shift. But now you guys you got started,
Correct.
and right away you have to shift to what's going on. What changes did you guys make to kind of keep things rolling and keep top of mind for people when it was pretty much nobody able to do anything?
We had difficult times making some really hard choices. It was painful to tell our staff that we had to put them on hold until this passed by. We've since been able to rehire all of our staff. In fact, hire more staff, which is nice. And we had a really hard couple of days making some difficult decisions of how we were going to do this. I'm going to sound like a Henderson government fanboy again just by saying this, but we had some really great conversations with Henderson government as far as what they would allow us to do within the directives of the governor and what our licensing was for. And so we were able to keep our lights on and pay a few bills by doing curbside and filling growlers and filling howlers, which are the half-size growlers.
Oh, okay.
We call them howlers because our coyote mascot.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Kind of works out.
And from there we had a little bit of money set aside because we had a really good month,
Right.
and we had to make some tough choices. And I wanted to grab and hold on to everything and just wait it out because then I was like, okay, we can last until this month if we hold on to all our money and maybe make a little bit on. And Nate was like, no, we've got to be bold about this and we really have to push. And so we bought a canning machine, which allowed us to provide some cans.
Yes, another vessel.
Another means by which we could sell. And we started brewing beer again, which was, it was difficult to spend money to actually brew beer when you weren't sure whether you were going to be allowed to sell it.
Yeah.
And it really was a day-by-day thing with the government. So are we doing what we need to be doing to keep everyone happy? And yes, you are. Okay. And then the next day, are we going to be closed down today? Is this? And those first few weeks were
scary.
extremely scary that way.
You know, we took one day. The governor came out and said, "This is what's going on," and we were kind of like, "That's tough." The next day we kind of cried a little bit, and weren't quite sure what was going to happen with the business. And then the 19th, we had the discussions together and the discussions with the city, and decided okay, we're good to go for curbside, and that kind of we ran with that for the last 8 weeks before opening back up at 50%. So.
And we're so fortunate that Henderson allowed us to be open and allowed us to exercise that aspect of our licensure. With that helping us, we were able to, keep our morale high, keep the customer base aware of what was going on. We really used social media a lot to let people know what was happening. At one point, we had a group of customers start a GoFundMe page for us.
Oh, wow.
Which was cool.
Which was so,
they just wanted to make sure that we were okay.
Yeah.
And so they started one for us.
And which was an incredible compliment and helpful.
Absolutely.
And so we're incredibly grateful that way for those people helping us out. But we saw our way through to the point where we could start opening our doors again. And so at this point, we were at 50% and we had spaced out our tables. We were ready to go. What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
When you really want to open, you move the tables around and you're like, okay, it's going to look this way. No, we want it to look this way.
Yeah.
We
several movements. Put it over there. No, over here. Over here. Over there.
Like, when we can open, this is going to be great. And so we got our 50%, and then with the most recent iteration, we're able now to sit at the bar like this with spacing. And it's been a great transition. I hadn't realized how much I missed talking with people across the bar and walking into our room here and seeing people sitting at tables. And like you mentioned, it's a lot coming in with his family, and he was like, I brought my whole family in and we're sitting at a table. And I'm like, this is exactly what we need to see. Yeah. This is great for us, and it's exactly what the city needs to see. They need to see families out enjoying their lunch and, having a beer or cider too.
Yeah. Well, this is you dropped so many nuggets in there that kind of give me goosebumps kind of about what it's like. Again, I mentioned I come from a small town, and it's very tight-knit community. My wife doesn't like to go to the store with me up there because I go to grab a six-pack and she's like, go by yourself, because she knows I'll be there for a few hours. Because people just want to talk. But they're like, hey, how's it going? And you moved to Vegas and they think like this huge awesome thing that you're doing down there or whatever. But you mentioned the communication with the city of Henderson and getting connected with them, how they're on point. The conversation of being business partners, like a true partnership is, hey, you know what? I think we should hold on our own money. You know what? We need to double down. We need to do this now, and being able to come together like that. That just being that in the business from the inside out, going out to everybody coming in here and Mark sitting out here with his family and having the beer and everything. I think incredibly awesome. It really feels like you guys are building a community here. And again, having people coming out and, hey, we're going to start a GoFundMe for you. Not because you guys asked them, because that shows it's a testament to what you guys have already done in such a short amount of time to get that going. But with all the changes that have been going on, are there any that you think that you've adopted, such as curbside, that might be long-term now, like in the future?
We've kind of thought a little bit about continuing curbside, and maybe in the future we can bring it back. It's just curbside does take more staff just to run that side of it, and we were kind of scared to. We hired like one extra person beyond what we what we initially had, and but we're kind of scared to hire even more because we still don't know, like, what if something again happens next week, and it's like, oh nope, sorry, we're back to phase 0 and everybody's shut down, and it's like, okay, well I just hired these guys. So we're still a little hesitant and weary about kind of moving forward on something like that.
And when my guy and my partner here, who has that bullish attitude, is saying, "Well, let's be bullish. Let's really consider." It speaks to me. And I will say this: we do have people that continue to be at risk or high risk for COVID, and they've reached out to us and they're like, we're really disappointed that you can't do the curbside. You're asking us to come in and buy growlers because I just can't do that with my husband as a high risk person. And we deal with that on an individual by individual basis. We really loved the response that people had to doing curbside, and I think that in the future we will have curbside, but it will be after we get to some normalcy just in running
A business.
this business, and once we have a feel for what it's like to be 100% again, because we had such a short period of time running at 100%, then we'll start reaching out in that direction. Because there are those factors, that's more beer that we produce, which is no problem because we love to sell beer and cider, but also the staffing that we have to maintain and the rules that we're going to have for where people can park and things, because we'll have to keep spaces open and things. But it gets into the nitty gritty. I mean, we could talk about that more, but I mean, in general, that was a really tough decision for us to not do that. As far as bringing people in and being a little more careful about how people sit, how people occupy tables, whether we allow tables to be moved together. Generally speaking, people are exercising a lot of common sense. And I think that while we will go to 100% occupancy, I think that let's not push all the tables together, or let's be a little more careful about how we queue up for our beers, and things like that will stay around. And I think that's kind of the new normal that we're just all adjusting to. It's difficult for our servers behind the bar. They have to wear the masks and they're hot, and it's uncomfortable after an hour of wearing it. You want to tear it off. But I don't know at what point we're going to be able to say, no, we're going to take them off, because really, truly, we're trying to be safe. And we're trying to exercise common sense in a situation, in an atmosphere where we want to be comfortable, but I don't want to serve you through bulletproof glass either. I want you to feel like we're back to normal, but we do have some things that we're factoring in to stay careful.
Okay, well, another thing that you just reminded me of talking about, you have no problem brewing more beer. When you mentioned earlier that it was like touch and go, it was, hey, today we're good, tomorrow we're not. Like that's got to be scary, because it's not like you didn't order a steak, throw it on the grill, and serve it to somebody. Like this is, I mean, what is the brew time? Like 2 weeks? I mean, how long does it take for you to brew a batch?
I think it's safe to say a 3-week to a month cycle for most of our beers. Some of them are longer, some of them are shorter, but I'd say 3 weeks to a month. So we're feeling bullish about what's going to happen in a month, or trying to be bullish when we didn't know whether we were going to be able to continue to sell beer.
Correct.
Or perhaps have people in. I mean, there were rumors circulating about it's going to be August before we get to open our doors again, things of that nature. So
That would have been tough.
Yeah, you can say that again.
So you bought the canning machine, and so now you can. I'm assuming you obviously buy the cans here. Can you buy them at any other local spot?
So the canner we got is more of a seamer. So it's an individual can that we fill straight from our tap.
Oh, okay.
And we put the lid on, and it seals it, seams it, keeps it fresh. So we still don't have the capacity to do bulk distribution of our cans. That is we've had this conversation since the COVID thing. It's been an ongoing discussion. Like, you know, if we get some, you know, some loan money from the government for the shutdown, you know, should we invest in a larger canner to have another means of income if this happens again? And that's one unfortunate thing we didn't have is, you know, a lot of other breweries have the canners that they're selling at the grocery store, so they still make money off the cans going out at the grocery store. We did not. All we had was literally curbside. You know, jumping over that little wall over there 100 times a day. You know, with growlers and howlers and cans in my hands. That's all. That's the only income we had for 2 months. I mean, 75 grand is kind of on the lower side of those canners.
Yeah.
And that's a big money to spend right now.
Oh, yeah.
And, so it's one of those, what do we do type situations. So we hope to get there sooner or later. But,
Yeah, we hope sooner than later, I think. This has shown us the freedom that having a production line of that nature can afford. In the business plan that we designed, it was definitely something that we were going to consider at the end of a great year or at the end of 3 years after, you know, moderate success. And now we're looking at it because we've seen other breweries in the area and the freedom that afforded them to do special release cans, which brought a lot of sales, or continued sales towards like the big box stores and things like that. And so it's and this is one of those things that I guess the new normal is starting to help us as business people start to, in the brewing industry at least, start to recognize is that we have to readjust what we see as a successful business model. Is it canning because not just of the cans, but because of the freedom that it affords us if we ever have a future shutdown, to continue some way to get our product to the market.
Yeah, another revenue stream is basically what it is.
Yeah.
You would need in something like these times. So.
Yeah, this definitely has shown that it's a necessity to have, you know, something else.
I think that's fair to say that. I think that a canning line, if you can at all afford it in this industry, is a necessity. It's something that just, you know, it's one more tool to allow us to stay open.
Awesome. Well, so we're kind of talking about what's coming up in the future, and some ideas that you have in your head right now. What has you guys most excited about the future? I mean, especially coming from, it wasn't like you came out and knocked it out of the park for 3 years, had no issues, and all of a sudden got hit with this adversity.
Yeah.
Like I feel like adversity is great as long as you decide that you're going to grow from it rather than crumble from it. And obviously, you guys have taken the growth aspect of it, trying to figure out how to navigate through it. Although it's a bummer that this happened now, I mean, in 10 years, you might look back and say that was the greatest thing that ever happened to us because it put us in a position to where we needed to step outside and go, now we're using a canner. Now we're doing this, now we're doing that. But what has you most excited about the future coming up next 6 months, next 6 years, whatever?
You want to go first? You want me to?
I
got a couple of
I was just going to talk about, I mean, near future, I was going to talk about distribution.
Yeah.
So right before the whole shutdown, we were having, you know, we had a meeting scheduled with our distributors to start distributing our cakes to restaurants and other places. That hit, and I was like, you know. So luckily, you know, 2 weeks ago, we were able to sit down with them again and set up a plan to actually start getting our cakes out to bars and restaurants throughout Vegas and Henderson. So I think I'm super excited about that. You know, the beers that are going to be, you know, you're going to see our tap handles now at, you know, different bars throughout the entire, you know, city. And I think that's exciting. I'm excited to walk into a bar one day like, hey, I made that beer.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's a cool. You know, I'm excited for that.
It's like a band hearing their song on the radio for the first time, right?
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited for that. I mean, that's a near future. But obviously, there's way more things that we're excited about. And
I'm excited about enjoying this community the way that I know that they can celebrate and have a great summer and just live life. We weren't open for the Christmas parade. The St. Patrick's Day parade got canceled. I can't wait to really enjoy what Water Street has to offer as a community, because people are still a little tentative about coming out and really seeing what's out on Water Street again. And so as we see more businesses able to open, as we see more people walking up and down the street, I can't wait to see the change that's happening here continue rather than go on hold and then hopefully begin again. It's nice to see that it's starting up again. We've got the stadium going on down the street. That build is making people very, very excited about what we have to offer down here.
Silver Knights, baby.
Yeah. So that's really got me excited. And then with that, we've got so much beer that we want to make. I mean, we constantly discuss and sometimes argue
what's next,
what we're going to do next. But I wanted to do this one, and there's a beer I've been waiting for now 3 months to make, and I know that Nate has a beer that he's been waiting for easily 6 months to make. So I mean, we just have so much great beer to make, and so I'm excited to make some new beers, show people what we can do. Really have a chance to really show who we are.
Well, on that topic, what is the top seller? I mean, you have a top seller.
That's a good question.
On who, of course, I posted that I was in here last week on one of the groups that we have, and this guy tells me, he goes, "Yeah, the Goondocks is awesome."
Nice.
And so my wife had the Goondocks, and he said that, like, "Oh, my wife had the Goondock," and he's like, "Are you telling me that I like girl beer?" But he was just joking. They go back and forth because I had the hazy. Well, that's what I had, the hazy and the Dusk Till Dawn.
Okay.
Nice. The two that I had last time. And I like to try, I like most any beers, so I like to try, especially like your creations and things like that. But then Mark was telling me about, there was the shotgun wedding, he told me. He said that people just are crazy for it.
Yeah.
And it's
got a following.
It's not jalapeno, but it's more of a serrano pepper heat, a clean heat. When you do jalapeno in beer, it tends to bring a citrus out. And so we'll do jalapeno pepper, but I wanted, when I designed that recipe, and it's been a recipe that I brought from my home brewing days, I wanted it to have a clean heat so the raspberry would really taste like raspberry.
Oh, okay. So
we overpower the citrus. Yeah, but that pepper heat is definitely there. I wouldn't say that's our best seller.
No.
But it's definitely got to follow me.
Yeah. Right now, I mean, IPAs are just probably the top sellers at most breweries, and it doesn't change here. So we've got 2 IPAs that sell very, very well. The newest one being the hazy that you were talking about. That's been on for about a week and a half, and it's been selling very, very well. So those ones are probably our top sellers. But again, it's kind of hard to see what our flagships are going to be just yet, because we're still 6 weeks of actually being open 100% to being shut down for 2 months. So it's kind of hard to see what the customers are enjoying as of now. But we'll get there. I mean, give us another few months. We'll definitely have things under the belt that will be flagships and whatnot. So.
Yeah, and it's a constant source of discussion, because it's hard to retire a beer that we love. But we'll see one go away and then another that will stay for a long time. And we'll have seasonal beers.
The ciders sell really well.
Yeah, we've got to keep our ciders on. We're enjoying a lot of success with a few of our cider flavors. We've got some new ones that are coming along. We're actually working on one today that's really going to be fun. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I think the IPAs.
Yeah, well, what's funny is that I'm from the Northwest, and every time I go home, my cousin used to live like right on Capitol Hill, where we just walk down the street, and there's like 4 different like breweries and stuff like that. But we went there, and they have their the list of beers on the TV, right? And it's like, I'll take tap, like 47. It was like 96 beers on tap or something like that, and easily probably 60% of them were IPAs. And I got kind of IPA IPA out for a while because it just seemed like people were just going, IPA, how many hops can I throw in there? And I'd have one and my tongue would be burnt. It was like I just burnt my tongue on coffee. But that hazy, I was like, my wife, she doesn't like IPA. She doesn't like hoppy beer. And I had her taste that. And she's like, oh, that's actually really good because it had like some good citrus to it. Yeah. And it wasn't overpowering with the hops. So it was like, yeah, I'm not gonna enjoy anything after this. So I will vouch for that for the hazy. It was really good. So if you get a chance to come check that out, definitely do it.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the idea of the COVID kind of having people work at home, and there's been Twitter that's now allowing people to work at home, and a lot of people are experiencing working at home. I feel like we're going to see a lot more of that. Do you guys feel that this is going to be a place where people can, maybe they come here for a couple hours of their day and get some work done here at the brewery?
Absolutely. We've always hoped that we would be a point at which we would fill a space at the end of a work day where people might want to finish up on some emails or what have you while they have a pint and wait for friends to arrive and then go out to dinner or something of that nature. And now with this setting for workers, we continue to have a really welcoming environment where people can spread out and do some work and we had it set up so that we'd fill that little gap, the 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. sort of gap. And now if that turns into, okay, I'm going to go from noon until 2 p.m. and get some work done and have a pint and then get lunch and then finish up at home or what have you, that would be wonderful for us. We'd love that. And we continue to welcome that.
Absolutely.
Nate was talking with me about our bar a while back, and we made a point of making this bar a lot longer and wider so that people will have space to spread out and set up a laptop and do that work. We welcome that sort of activity here.
That's awesome. That's great foresight too, to think about somebody putting their laptop, and not even just the laptop. I mean, they have other stuff. They might have a notebook out or something, do all that. Yeah. And so I think that's incredible foresight, and even to do that prior to this scenario where there's going to be a lot of people, I think, that will end up, maybe they go to a coffee shop in the morning, get a little bit of work done, go home, do a little bit more work, and then, like you said, come out here, finish up their work day, and then go out to dinner or whatever. But no, I think that's awesome. Is there anything that you want, the city to know, or about what you guys are doing here? Is anything you want them to know as far as type of, other than to come visit you, obviously, because that's what we want.
Sure.
But I mean, kind of something. Obviously, we talked a couple different things about what sets you guys apart so far. This idea right here with a longer bar is brilliant in my opinion, and then also partnering up with other Water Street Pizza, doing things like that. But is there anything else that you guys have going on that you want people to be aware of and kind of get an idea?
I'll start off just with, not just us at Mojave, but just Water Street in general. We're trying to get Water Street to be this new happening place for families and people to come down and hang out and be safe and get good beer. You can get good Mexican food over at Juan's. There's 2 breweries down here. You got us at Mojave. You got Love Lady Brewing down here. Water Street Pizzeria. You have Sunset Pizzeria. You've got the Gold Mine. You have Cuckoo's Cafe. You have the Pacific Diner. There's all these cool places down here that I think a lot of people don't realize are open and doing business, or were here to begin with. Because Water Street has always in the past kind of been not so what it is now and what it's becoming and what it's turning into. The Silver Night's coming. I guess we just want people to know, like, we are here. This is Water Street, and we are growing, and we are a big. We're becoming a place, and I think that's kind of what we want to know for that. So it's awesome.
Yeah, you sort of stole my answer because I was going in that direction too. We at Mojave Brewing, the Mojave Desert is a place where dreams came true for my family, and I know it happened that way for Nate and his family as well. So when we have this space here, and I hope that the city recognizes that we want a community here, a group of interested and like-minded and friendly people that enjoy spending time here, and I really think that we're making those strides, and it's just a great place to hang out.
I stole your thunder.
It's hard.
That's why I jumped in first, just in case.
But we've talked about it multiple times. It really feels a community sense already at such a young age of the brewery. But you can tell that's what you guys are wanting to do and why you made the choice to come down here. So I'll go ahead and back you on that one, everybody.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Well, all right. Now we know kind of what Mojave's about. Now, the most important part: how do people get here? What is the location of the brewery here?
Well, if you're driving from downtown, like our beer, exit 23, you take exit 23 to Lake Mead Parkway and drive down and take a right turn onto Water Street and drive up and look for
107
and look for the old Bank of America sign, which is soon going to turn into
Mojave
the Mojave Brewing sign.
So you said
And that's where we're at.
107 South Water Street, Suite 100.
Yep.
Awesome. And then, are you on social media, anything like that?
Absolutely.
Connect with you guys?
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're pretty active on all three. So yeah, you can just you can look up just Mojave Brewing. It'll pop up. So please follow us. Absolutely.
You guys do like releases and stuff on that? Like, hey, this new
Yeah, so we try to post
about
every day
Awesome.
as much as we can, just to let people know, hey, we're still here, and any new beers coming out, or events, with what's going on in the community as well. We try to share other people's stuff that's going on Water Street. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Nate, Griff, thank you so much.
Cheers.
I appreciate your time. And everybody come out, grab yourself a pint
Cheers.
at
That's right.
Mojave.
Cheers, guys.